Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of AoS Close-Ups. This week we're going to take a look at Dryads, explore their background, look into the rules, and see how they changed in the transition from 8th edition to AoS. Live, beautiful, and filled with spite, Dryads are nature incarnate. Merciless spirit protectors of the forest and some of the last defenders of the Jade Kingdom, still conducting the hidden war against the agents of chaos. Depicted in the miniatures and art of GW are the Dryads' war aspect. They appear as wood-like demons made of thorns, briars, and twigs. However, being that Dryads are shapeshifters, they do not stay in this form perpetually, even in Warhammer fluff. When they are not impaling or rending invaders with their wooden talons, they often take the form depicted in other types of fantasy as elf-like maidens with green-hued skin and flowing hair whose beauty would, similar to the singing of sirens, enrapture victims so to lead them to their deaths. When not luring stragglers or small raiding parties to these gruesome ends, Dryads are commonly known for launching quick ambushes and harassing flanks, then only to disappear into the deeps of the woods before the enemy's force could be brought to bear. Calling Dryads the bulk of the Sylvaneth force would be too equivocal. Simply put, Dryads are the Sylvaneth forces, period. And so with that being said, let's take a closer look at the rules. After playing against the Dryads in several games, my thoughts are surprisingly different compared to what I had thought on an initial look at the War Scroll. Based out-wise, they are mediocre, hitting and wounding on 4s with no rend and only doing 1 wound. However, the most telling base stat that they have is the 2-inch range for their racking talons. Like I have mentioned in previous episodes, 2-inch melee attacks are in general worthless, unless you plan to run a unit in a giant horde, and it seems that the Dryads are definitely aimed to be played in that style, in part to the abilities that they come with, and the fact that they are the only unit really to choose from. In addition to the range, Dryads are boosted further when brought in larger units with the rule Impenetrable Thicket, which improves the Dryads' underwhelming save from 5+ to the more staple 4-up. Again, nothing about this should knock your socks off right away, as there really isn't any reason to get overly excited about having a unit where they receive a conditional gain of a 50-50 chance of not dying to a non-rending 1-wound attack. But knowing full well that running a Sylvaneth army means you'll be playing close to terrain, especially Wildwoods, you'll have plenty of opportunities to improve the Dryads to the outstanding 3-up. Add to this the ability blessings of the forest, and your Dryads suddenly become rather resilient, as enemies must then also subtract 1 from their hit rolls when within 3 inches of a Sylvaneth Wildwood. A 3-up save and a -1 to hit should not be disregarded, even if the stats are condition-based. It just means that you're playing a force that is not meant to be played in a playstyle akin to running Dryads as Khorne warriors. The final ability continues the theme of contingent-based rules through the Enrapturing Song. Enrapturing Song is again, nod to those sirens, gives the Dryads the ability to add 1 to their hit rolls against 1 chosen unit in each of the owning player's combat phases. While hitting on a 3+ consistently would obviously be comparatively better, it's better than being stuck on a 50-50 chance against everyone all the time no matter what. So it is of course a nice little offensive bump to have and should not be ignored. So for those of you that remember, after the new book came out at the later half of 8th edition, Dryads became complete garbage. They were overcosted, lacked even the merest modicum of offensive power, and were armored with wet paper. They were also on an awkward base size, making hordes of them terribly unwieldy, and buses actually maximized opposing players' hordes. They were honestly just out of place. They were no longer skirmishers, and so also lost out on a lot of their maneuverability. But things have definitely changed, especially in that resiliency department. When played correctly, Dryads are just a huge pain to dislodge from a position, making them fantastic for holding an objective in terrain, especially if positioned near a wildwood, which, let's be honest, is probably the most ubiquitous terrain next to hills available on the gaming table today. So it will definitely be within a player's power to use this to their advantage. In addition, we have the Guardians of the Deepwood War Scroll, which you should probably be architecting your force around, and this allows you to bring 2 Wildwoods as part of your force, so access to your rules should definitely not be an issue. Thanks to this new resiliency, Dryads will be able to win many battles of isolated attrition, but the key there is isolated, because despite the resiliency, Dryads aren't offensive enough to withstand a determined counterattack. Even hitting on 3s, the advantage Dryads have are being able to bring large units and still maximize attacks against the prey. So when on the attack, you need to pick your combats where your large units are taking on 1 unit at a time. Force-wise, I think a good foundation is to bring 2 units of 20-ish Dryads. Spalling units can still be useful, though, I still believe, as they can be good at suiciding into monsters or 1-wound units just to stack on the wounds to make the fights even more lopsided for your large units to finish off. They can also run in the way if your large units need to retreat from a situation that appears to be developing into a more even match, as Dryads are surprisingly fast. At 7 inches, this will allow them to execute hit-and-run tactics. Combine this with the Deep Woods War Scroll that allows you to come out of reserves from a Wildwood, and you can have the Dryads hit from multiple directions, which will be helpful in isolating combats. Also, retreating at the right time will be key, and can help pull enemies away from each other, making objectives easier to capture. Remember, a Dryad's worst matchup is a concentrated foe. That being said, that will end this week's episode of AoS Close-Ups. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Comment below, tell me what you think, and we'll see you next week.